Okay, let's create different types of constraints and see how you can do that. First of all, notice that geometrical constraint is enabled. Okay, so I go and select line command. I double click on line command because I want to have this enabled so that I can draw multiple lines. I double click on that, and this is my first line. This is kind of angled line, so it doesn't have any constraints enabled by Catia because Catia couldn't recognize anything. The second line starts from the center, so I draw this line, and the third line is going to be a vertical line, and Catia understands that this is a vertical line, so it applies a vertical constraint to that. And I'm going to have this line a horizontal one here, so this is the next one. I press escape to exit the command. You can see that I have 4 lines, and I can add multiple constraints for them. So let's start with the first one. I want to see that this line is going to be a vertical line. So how can I do that? I can just click on that, go to constraints by definition dialog box, and I can see that there is a vertical constraint here that I can click on that, and by clicking on that you can see that this line turns to vertical, so I click on that. This line should be horizontal, so I click on that and I go to this dialog box and click on horizontal. You can see that the line becomes horizontal, so I click on OK. Now I have constraints for all of these lines. What I'm going to do is to make sure that this line has a distance from this line, and that distance should be something like 100 millimeters. So I click on the first line, press Ctrl key, click on the second line, and I go here and select distance from here and click on OK. And then you can see that there is a dimension in between, and this dimension stays there because in Sketch Tools I have made sure that dimensional constraint is enabled. So now if I want to move these lines, I cannot just grab them and move them down. You can see they move to right or left, but not up or down. That's because I have a dimension here that constrains the movement. So I double click on that and type 100 millimeters and hit enter. You can see that now the dimension moves the line down. The next thing that I want to have here, I want to have a distance of 150 millimeters between this line, so I press Ctrl key, and this line. So I go and after selecting 2 lines, click on this dialog box, and again select distance. I click on OK. It is too high, so let me drag this down by getting this line and move it down, and then I'm going to double click on that and type 150 and hit enter. See that the line moves here. Okay, I want to have something like a rectangle out of these lines. What can I do? I want to make sure that this point at the end of this line is gonna be kind of coincident with this point at the end of this line. So I select this point. You can see that by clicking on that it turns to orange. It is a little vague in this picture, maybe you don't see it, but when you do it on your desktop you may see it. So I press Ctrl key and then go and select this point. Now I have 2 points, so I go here. What can I do? I can click on distance and make sure that the distance between these 2 points are 0. Let's do this. So I click on distance. You can see that it says 67.25. So I click on OK. I double click on that and type 0 and press OK. You can see that this brings the 2 points to each other. I'm going to press Ctrl Z and again Ctrl Z one more time to remove this. And again you can see that both of these points are selected, so I don't really need to select them once again. I go and click on this dialog box. I can make sure that these 2 points are coincident, so I select coincidence here, and you can see that again the same thing should be achieved. This is a much better idea, I guess, and I did it right now. So I click on OK. I want to do the same thing here. I just want to make sure that this endpoint, click on that, press Control key, and this endpoint are coincident. I can again make a distance of 0 or select coincident. Selecting coincident is much better. So I go here, click on that and select coincident, and I can see that they are coincident to each other. I click on OK. What I'm going to do is to do the same thing for this point and this point, coincident, and this point, and also this point that is here in the end of this line. It's a little hard to get, and I go and select coincident. I don't know what happens right now, but let's see. If I do that, the whole rectangle is going to be created. All of the shapes move to right to enable all those constraints. And something that is funny is this: the whole shape is green. This means that this shape is fully defined. So everything about this shape is fully defined. So you saw some of the constraints. I'm going to continue and speak about some other constraints. Okay, let's say that I'm going to draw another rectangle, and I'm going to draw this rectangle something like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. I want to make sure that the center of this rectangle is in the center of coordinate system. So how can I do that? For that, again, I have multiple solutions, but the easiest one is to make sure that this line and this line have the same distance from the center of coordinate system, and the same thing for this line and this line should be applied. So first of all, I want to say that there is a symmetry between these lines and the center of coordinate system. So I select the first line, press Control key, select the second line, and then select either the center of coordinate system or one of the vertical vectors. So I select this one, and again the order of selection is important. So I go here, select it, and you can see there is an option that says symmetry. So I click on that, and you can see that the second line moved to reflect the first line, and this is the symmetry icon here. I click on that and click OK. Again, I want to make sure that this line, press Control key, and again, let's say this one. I want to select this one. Select this one first, press Control key. The second one, hold the Control key and select this vertical, this horizontal vector. So I click on that, and then release Control key and go and enable symmetry one more time. You can see that this is created for you. So I click on OK. So whatever I do to one of the lines, the other line is going to reflect it. Why? That's because this line has a symmetry with the other one, and again the same thing about this one. So how can I kind of limit the movements? I can add some dimensions to these lines. So this one is going to be, let's say, 100 millimeters. So I select the length for that, click on that, and double click on this dimension and type 100, and the other side is going to reflect it. You can see that this one now doesn't move because there is a distance between these two selected, or kind of a length. In this case, distance and length are the same, and I'm going to select this line and go here and select the length for that. So I click on OK, and again it is too high, so I just bring it a little down, and I want to make sure that this one is about 200 millimeters. So I just type 200 and click OK, and now you can see that again my shape turns green. This means that this is fully defined. Now let me show you another thing. I want to draw a line, so I just select line and I draw this like this. And again, I want to draw a point, so I select a point here and put the point here. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that this line is in the same direction as this line. I mean, this is going to be in the same extension of this line. So how can I do that? I'm going to select this line first, press Control key, select this one second, and I'm going to select this and make sure that again coincidence is selected. So this is one way to do that. So I select coincidence. I can see that the second line goes down. It doesn't really overlap the first line. It just goes to the extension of the first line and lands right there. So I click on OK, and you can see that. And again, this is fully defined. I'm going to select this one, press Ctrl key, and select this point now. I want to make sure that this point is in coincidence with the first one. So again, the same thing. I select coincidence, and you can see that the point goes down, and now I am in coincidence with the first line. So I click on OK, and that's it. So this way you can create coincidence. Sometimes you select 2 points. This means that they should overlap each other. Let me show you another thing. I'm going to draw a circle. So this is my circle. I draw it here. I want to make sure that another circle that I draw has the same center with this circle. I can do it in multiple ways. I can select the circle command, then go over the first circle and right click on that and select concentric, and then draw the second circle. You can see that a concentric kind of constraints is enabled here. I can press Ctrl Z, and I'm going to draw the circle somewhere else like this, and I can do again this. I can select the center of the first circle, press Ctrl key and select the center of the second circle, and I go here and select coincidence, and again this makes sure that they are concentric. Of course I can cancel this out and show you another way. Select the first circle, instead of selecting just the center, press Ctrl key, select the second circle, and then go here and select concentricity. You see that I can achieve the same goal in multiple ways. So I click on OK, and this is part of the constraints that I talked about. That in next section I'm going to continue my discussion.